Priyanka, I think you can start.
Thanks, Shafiq. Dear fellow members and families, Chapter Chairman C. Neeraj Jitolia, my committee members, our esteemed guest speakers for the evening, and more importantly, our guest of honor today, Mr. Sandeep Kumar, the Deputy Chief of Mission, Indian Embassy. A very, very good evening to you all. It gives me great pleasure in welcoming you all to our virtual conference titled Live Life, Give Life. It is said that the meaning of life is to give life a meaning. We can only live life fully by helping us and others around us living well and healthy. Current times have again affirmed that health is the real wealth. And in an attempt to cover something beyond our technical knowledge sharing sessions that the chapter is doing, we are here today to cover on this important aspect of life with a wide range of topics and expert speakers. As we have already shared the flyer on this and you have seen the topics that we are covering, just giving you a brief. Why are kidney diseases ravaging the modern communities? Is this a lifestyle issue? What are the solutions? We'll have more on this from our first speaker, Dr. Siddiq Anwar, consultant nephrologist, along with a panel of experts. Ms. Pallavi Kumar, Executive Director, Mohan Foundation, India, will be sharing her insights into the concept of organ donation and why it is important. Mr. Atul Agnihotri, the Chief Growth Officer, Alliance for Paired Kidney Donation, will be sharing his expertise on paired kidney swap transplant donation and how it is unlocking opportunities. What is the soul, mind, and body connection? How does it impact diseases and how does the diseases comes into existence? We would be pleased to hear more on that from our speaker, Ms. Shrimanti Gijare, the certified clinical hypnotherapist and regression therapist. So stay tuned and enjoy the sessions. Once again, a very, very warm welcome to you all, and our special welcome to our guest speakers as we are all eagerly waiting to hear from them. And let's reiterate and let's pledge to stay healthy, happy, and fit. I now hand it over to the chapter chairman, C. Neeraj Jitolia, for his opening address. Over to you, Neeraj.
Thank you, Priyanka. Thanks a lot. Good evening, everyone. I welcome you all to today's PTC event, and I welcome our members as well as members from Marwadi Yuva Manch who are also participating in today's event with the CA community. The good thing about Marwadi Yuva Manch is that the ExCom of Marwadi Yuva Manch is mostly headed by chartered accountants. I hope all of you are keeping safe and doing well. And by now, the authorities have requested everyone to take the booster dose, those who have completed 6 months time for the second dose of vaccination. So I request everyone to please get vaccinated and be safe. I welcome our today's guest of honor, Mr. Sandeep Kumar Bayappu. He is the Deputy Chief of Mission, Indian Embassy. And thank you, sir, for kindly consenting to be part of this event and taking out time for us. Learning should never stop, as we say in the chapter, and therefore the managing committee always put in a forefront to have events, mostly 2 events in a month. And we are always trying to proactively engage with all our stakeholders with the latest topics. We are exploring how to conduct physical events, and hopefully we are trying to do one physical event before end of September. Most likely it will be on 25th. We are talking to authorities to see what is required, and accordingly we will see if it is not much of a hassle, we will definitely do a physical event. We are also in full swing of engaging with the speakers for annual seminar, and that too we are planning to in a physical mode. We see that there is no more quarantine requirement for those who are fully vaccinated coming to Abu Dhabi. So it will be a bit of an ease for bringing speakers, as well as we see that once you have a green pass, and with some PCR test, you are allowed to enter into any conference or any kind of a meetings. So hopefully we will be doing our annual seminar in a physical mode, which is a very good news. I welcome you all to today's virtual CPE meeting, where Dr. Siddiq Anwar, Ms. Pallavi Kumar, Mr. Atul Agnihotri will talk about the importance and ease of organ maintenance, donation, and transplant. We also have Ms. Shrimanti Gijare, who will talk on a totally different way of managing wellness. We are thankful to Ms. Uma Raman, who coordinated for this event with all the speakers. Thank you so much. I request you all to be safe and follow all the guidelines. Now over to Shafiq to take it over, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Neerajji. It is indeed an honor and privilege to introduce the guest of honor today. It is no one else but Sandeep Kumar Bayappu. Sandeep Kumar Bayappu assumed the post of Deputy Chief of Mission at the Indian Embassy, Abu Dhabi, UAE on 22nd June 2020. Sandeep Kumar Bayappu joined the IFS in 2007. He has served in the Embassy of India, Beijing, and Consulate General of India at Guangzhou and East Asia and Indian Ocean Region Division at the Ministry of External Affairs, New Delhi. Before moving to Abu Dhabi, he served as a counselor at the Permanent Mission of India to the United Nations, New York. He is married to Manasa Reddy Bayappu, and they have one daughter and one son. Sandeep Kumar Bayappu holds a bachelor's degree in electrical and electronics engineering from JNTU, Anantapur, Andhra Pradesh, India. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Shafiq, for your kind words. Mr. Neeraj Ritolia, Chairman, ICAI Abu Dhabi Chapter. Subject experts of today's event, Dr. Siddiq Anwar, Ms. Pallavi Kumar, Mr. Atul Agnihotri, Ms. Srimanti Gijare. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening to you all. It is my pleasure to speak at this virtual CPE meeting. The present times have been totally consumed by the COVID-19 pandemic. Whatever facet of life we can think of, the pandemic has had at least some impact on it. The world has changed a lot since the onset of the pandemic. While we are optimistic with ongoing vaccination programs and the resumption of economic activities, it is also a fact that COVID-19 is here to stay. And all of us need to adapt in various ways to stay competitive and survive in the new world. Technology, no doubt, is playing an important role in allowing business continuity. Most visible of all has been the use of online platforms for education, corporate and business meetings, training sessions, seminars, and even cultural activities, which is quite effective and likely to continue in the foreseeable future as well. The COVID-19 pandemic has made us all realize that despite remarkable progress of modern medicine and curative care, we still have a long way to go in dealing with pandemics and their long-term effects, especially on our mental health. Hence, today's topic and the remarks by the experts are timely and useful. Organ and tissue donation is more important than many of us realize, not only for individuals affected by it directly, but for the society as a whole. I'm sure Ms. Pallavi Kumar will take us through the importance of organ donation in her remarks. It is true that health and wellness depend on a delicate balance between the mind, body, and spirit. The world has come to recognize the value of this holistic approach. In addition to focusing on fighting the diseases, we should make efforts to promote good health. In this context, the relevance of yoga in promoting both physical and mental well-being of people has never been more relevant. People around the world have embraced yoga to stay healthy and active to fight widespread social isolation and depression that is being witnessed during the pandemic. Yoga is also playing an important role in the psychosocial care and rehabilitation of COVID-19 patients in quarantine and isolation. It has been particularly helpful in easing fear and anxiety. Ladies and gentlemen, the UAE government, led by its visionary leadership, has shown remarkable perseverance in handling the pandemic, including extending full support to all the residents of the UAE. The provision of free test, quarantine facilities, and other medical facilities, and even COVID-19 vaccines to everyone residing in the country is an extraordinary achievement. There is no doubt that the large Indian community is a major beneficiary of this comprehensive institutional support, and we are very thankful for this. Since we are on the topic of health, let me highlight some aspects of India-UAE cooperation in the healthcare sector, particularly in the last one and a half year since the start of pandemic. In the early days of pandemic last year, when not much was known about treating those infected with the coronavirus. An already existing drug used for treating malaria, hydroxychloroquine, showed some promise. While research continued for a more precise drug, the demand for HCQ surged across the world with increasing new cases every day. In this context, India supplied 5.5 million tablets of HCQ to the UAE on a priority basis in the first shipment, followed by more later. Later in May 2020, UAE sent an aircraft carrying 7 metric tons of medical supplies to India to bolster India's efforts to limit the spread of COVID-19. It was estimated that the equipment sent by the UAE ensured that almost 7,000 medical professionals in India were better prepared to combat the pandemic. Also, a large number of Indian healthcare personnel joined the UAE's fight against the pandemic. The fact that many of the top healthcare providing companies in the UAE are run by Indians is also a testimony to their contribution to this sector. During the second wave of COVID-19 pandemic in India, the UAE government sent cryogenic tankers for transporting much needed liquid medical oxygen, LMO, and hundreds of oxygen concentrators to India to bolster India's medical response to the surge in cases in April-May 2021. Also, Emirates Airlines set up a humanitarian air bridge between Dubai and various cities in India to transport urgent medical and relief items free of cost. As we try to cope with the impact of COVID-19 on mental health, it is worthwhile to mention that the acceptance and practice of yoga and Ayurveda is steadily growing in the UAE. There is an institutional push towards preventive care as the discussion around building innate immunity grows, evidenced by 500 officially licensed Ayurveda practitioners and several renowned clinics and Vaidyashalas operating in the UAE. Working together is in fact what distinguishes the India-UAE Comprehensive Strategic Partnership, which has emerged even stronger since the start of the COVID pandemic. As the UAE enters the year of the 50th and India celebrates its Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav or India at 75, both countries will soon mark 50 years of their diplomatic relations. In the global collective fight against COVID-19 pandemic, India and the UAE have joined hands to strengthen their respective healthcare sectors. This provides an opportunity for healthcare professionals from both India and the UAE to envision new developments, innovate and devise methods that can enhance healthcare delivery and further equip us to combat any health crisis in the future. Pandemics like COVID-19 are inflection points which push humanity as a whole to reevaluate our priorities and make choices, not as individuals, but as part of a larger community. Traditional systems which go beyond the individual and promote the idea of oneness with the universal whole may be a useful way forward. Thank you for your patient attention.
Sandeep ji, thank you so much for your talk, and you very well touched upon that going for treatment is not good, and maintenance through wellness is very important. And also you touched upon the UAE-India relationship in terms of healthcare and how the during COVID situation, how the government of UAE assists all the residents here. So thank you for your time, and it was very well covered. A certificate of appreciation from our side. Thank you for your time. Thank you so much.
Now, next, let me introduce a very special person who has been helping me with organizing with most of the speakers today evening. It's none other than Mrs. Uma Raman. So definitely we need to, for those who doesn't know her, we need to have a formal introduction. Mrs. Uma Raman is a long-time UAE resident with an illustrious career in the C-suite of leading corporates in the country for many years. As part of her personal mission to give back to the society, currently she champions the noble human cause of organ donation. Uma is a qualified organ donation advocate and privileged to have attached to SKMC for a complete orientation on organ transplant process. She plays an active role in community reach out to promote awareness, which she is passionate about. And thank you so much, Uma, and over to you.
do I? Abba? Hello, good evening, friends. Firstly, I would like to thank the chairman and managing committee of ICAI Abu Dhabi chapter for being extremely receptive to the idea of hosting today's event. My gratitude to the panel of speakers who graciously accepted the invite, and warm welcome to His Excellency Sandeep Kumar Bayapu, the chapter members, and the guests who have had gathered today. Sir Winston Churchill once said, "We make a living by what we get, but we make a life by what we give." Let me repeat, we make a living by what we get, but we make a life by what we give. What a befitting quote it is for today's evening session titled, Live Life and Give Life. It takes me back to the day when a few years ago when I heard about the moving experience of my dear friend. Her brother was declared brain dead, who suffered from cerebral hemorrhage. In a nearby town, another person was fighting for life and was in urgent need of a heart transplant. As my friend's brother's heart was very healthy, still functioning, and medically compatible for the living person, the medical team approached her spouse. Upon learning this, even at the profound moment of grief, she was benevolent to give her consent to donate her husband's heart. 6 years hence, the recipient is living a quality life. That day, I decided to support and promote the cause of organ donation and became a qualified organ donor advocate. Let's educate our communities on the importance of becoming a registered organ donor and dispel any misconceptions we might have about organ donation. Today's session is a great opportunity to learn about how to maintain a healthy renal function and live a quality life and difference one could make in the lives of others henceforth. Before I end, a big thank you to you, Mohammed Shafiq, for the excellent coordination. Over to CA Manish Mohan. Thank you.
Okay, very good evening to all. Thank you, Mr. Sandeep Ji and Ms. Umar Amin, for your wonderful remarks. Hope everyone is ready to explore the technical section on Live Life and Go Live. In the first section, we have 3 prominent speakers, and it's my honor and privilege to introduce Dr. Siddiq Anwar, a consultant nephrologist. Dr. Siddiq is from Bangalore and did his professional training in the West. He was trained in some of the biggest transplant programs in Manchester, London, and St. Louis. He was a consultant in Newcastle and was brought to SEHA to grow the transplant program in UAE. His active participations include setting up the acute kidney injury detection algorithm in SEHA, which was first in the Middle East. Mr. Sid played a key role in paired kidney exchange program, and the first paired kidney exchange was between UAE and India. He is an active member in several professional organizations, such as Clinical Advisory Board under the Department of Health, Abu Dhabi, and an active member in International Society of Nephrology, Middle East. I welcome on board Dr. Sid. I would like to further introduce Ms. Pallavi Kumar, who delivers her talks on concepts of organ donation today. She acts as an executive director for Mohan Foundation, Delhi. Working for NGOs in the last 30 years, Pallavi has fought for HIV orphans, comforted the specially able and underprivileged. Pallavi had the opportunity to work with Tanker, Tamil Nadu Kidney Research Foundation in Chennai, an organization providing subsidized dialysis to patients living with end stage of kidney failure. Beneath the soft heart, she braved her way up to conquer the Everest Base Camp in 2018 and Mount Kilimanjaro in 2019 with a singular aim of promoting organ donation. welcome Ms. Pallavi on board. Last but not least, I am introducing Mr. Adul Agnihotri, who is the head of growth of Alliance for Paired Kidney Donation and CEO of Kidneys for Communities. His 20 plus years of global leadership experience, building and transforming Fortune 500 companies, plays an integral role in promoting life-saving kidney matching algorithm around the world and shaping the future of US for first ever community directed kidney donation program. Recently, Mr. Adul facilitated a historical agreement between the State of Israel and United Arab Nations that led to a series of kidney transplants, saving several lives within the two countries. A warm welcome to Mr. Adul Agnihotri. I heartily welcome Dr. Siddiq on behalf of ICA Abu Dhabi chapter to deliver his talk on renal disease amongst the expatriate population. And I am very much excited to join for the wonderful section. Thank you, and over to Mr. Siddiq.
Thank you for the ISA chapter and Umad for inviting me for this talk. I hope you can hear me. And thank you for His Excellency, Mr. Sandeep, for an excellent introduction for the talk. As he very rightly said, prevention should be the goal. Obviously, when people end up on dialysis, we have to look for other solutions. And hopefully, I will be the primer for the main session, explaining why kidney disease is common among Indians, especially among expat Indians, which may be of some interest to the audience here today. I am part of the International Society of Nephrology. We have two global initiatives going on. One is to prevent acute kidney injury related deaths by 2025. And one is the Kidney Health Initiative, which is about capacity building to help reach the corners of the world where there's no high quality renal care. So UAE demographics is very interesting. As you know, more than 200 nationalities call it home, but Indians form the biggest demographic here. Intentionally, I have not put any women's picture here because most of the people who are here are men. Obviously, they are billionaires, they are white collar workers like me, but largely the folks who are working, building this country into this superpower, which is in the construction sector, in the airline sector, blue-collared workers. Unfortunately, kidney disease is on the rise in expat population. This is an article Malayalam Manorama penned, where me and my colleague Mohammed Sayari, who is Emirati, we penned in the article. What's happened is we have come to a country where there is a extreme temperature, and largely we folks live inside. We have access to energy dense food, and most of us don't exercise, and this all has predisposed for lifestyle illnesses, and kidney disease is one of the lifestyle illnesses, and this unfortunately is on a tremendous rise. This is old data. This is data from 2014 actually. And as you can see, kidney disease, as you grow older, becomes very common. And I can tell you that even this data is outdated, and anyone above 40 is risk of developing kidney disease. So this was a projection made by SEHA in 2010 when they were trying to model their renal services. They expected the dialysis population to grow to close to 2,000, but right now we're running at 1,100. So what's happened to those missing patients? And this will be the focus of the talk today. This was a beautiful article written by Dr. Vivek Jha, who was a past president of ISN. It's estimated more than 100 million Indians have kidney disease. That is 10%, more than 10% of the adult population. And more than 1 lakh die waiting for a kidney transplant, and more than 10 lakh die related to CKD complications. This is unfortunately a silent killer, which is spreading among our communities. And I will come to that element in a bit. I just want to paint a picture of the dialysis population demographics in Abu Dhabi. Thankfully, Abu Dhabi government is very generous and it provides free end-stage renal disease care. So that means anyone who ends up on dialysis or needs a transplant, the government of Abu Dhabi covers it. And the population is 30 years younger than what I was used to in the West, age 40 to 50, mostly expat, mostly male and mostly single, because not everyone is fortunate able to live with their families here. As you know, most blue collar workers visit their family once every year or once every 2 years. And largely this kidney disease is related to diabetes and obesity. And there's a 10% growth rate, and the 10% attrition rate is when people lose their jobs and they have to go back home. It costs government of Abu Dhabi around approximate 350,000 dirhams per year to maintain someone on dialysis. And that is very generous of them. And we do not compromise on any aspect of the care. They get world-class care. Actually, the dialysis units here are better than what I trained in the West. And at any given point, 20 to 30% of those are on dialysis, are Indians. So just let me just give you a little bit of like a primer about kidney disease. Kidney disease, the first thing is, how do we know you have kidney disease? Unfortunately, kidney disease has no symptoms. So if you have a heart problem, you get chest pain. If you have a lung problem, you become out of breath. Kidney disease, the only way you can find out is by doing a blood test. Now, the blood test we measure is something called a creatinine. Creatinine is a waste product of muscle turnover, and every day our muscle is breaking down and new muscle is made. And and the level is different in men and women. So for example, Siddharth is, I just looked it up, he's 6 foot and he weighs 80 kilograms. His creatinine will be different from Kier Advani, who's 5 foot 1 inch and it weighs around 50 kilograms. So the creatinine value changes, but the GFR, what we calculate based on the creatinine, that's the kidney percentage, based is on the height, in the body surface area, and the sex, obviously. And after age of 35, everyone's kidney function decline by 2% a year. And this seems to be a lot, but actually, if you put things in context, if I donate a kidney to my wife, and if I'm healthy, if I donate kidney, I give her a 50% kidney function, I can still have a normal life. So the way we've been designed, or evolutionary basis, there's a lot of kidney reserve. So even if there's this physiological decline, it doesn't affect us unless we have other risk factors to develop kidney disease. And these risk factors are known: diabetes, high blood pressure, if you have heart problems, if you're obese, if there's a family history, and if you're a smoker. Now, in the West, they say anyone above 60 should be screened for kidney disease. But for the Asian population, we would say anyone above 40. And we just need to go for a blood test once a year. Just go and get screened for kidney disease, which is just a creatinine check. Get screened for cholesterol problems, get screened for diabetes. And this is something I would recommend for everyone in the audience who's above 40. They just schedule an appointment with a general practitioner and go and get it checked out. Obviously, if you're diabetic, if you have heart problems and any other risk factors, you need this blood test to be done more than an annual basis, maybe every 3 to 4 months, based on what your doctors recommend. So there are some modifiable risk factors for kidney disease. I mean, these are well known. Healthy living is important. But the problem we all face is we all have busy lives. We have little time to look after your health. So investing in maintaining your health is the biggest investment you make for yourself and for your families. Like you make those provident funds for your loved ones, you need to invest in your health, because if you're around make the money, then your family will be having more luxurious lives. So smoking, obviously, I don't have to mention this. These are known risk factors, but I want to talk a little bit about the environmental exposure, which is a problem we are facing in subsequent line. Now, you said you mentioned 100 million people are in India have kidney disease, but not all of them end up on dialysis, which is a fair point. If you have kidney disease, that is kidney function less than 60%, then you're more likely to die of heart attacks, strokes, and what we call peripheral vascular disease, that is disease leading to amputation. So kidney disease is now considered a marker for your cardiovascular risk, that is the risk of dying of a heart attack or a stroke. So if you treat kidney disease or screen for kidney disease, you're also screening for heart disease and stroke, because kidney evolutionary basis is just a modified artery. So exactly the same composition as the heart or the blood vessels in the brain. So if you maintain your kidney health, you're maintaining your heart health, preventing yourself from having a stroke. So I just want to introduce a concept called global warming nephropathy. The areas highlighted in red, unfortunately, are the reasons which has seen this explosion in kidney disease. That is more than 10% of general population has kidney disease. And unfortunately, we're in the right midst of it. We're from India, and obviously we live in Middle East, which we all know is a risk of this. And this is largely related to having multiple small acute kidney injury events, which are not recognized, and then people end up on dialysis. I just want to tell you about the kidney transplant program. Like I said, the government of Abu Dhabi is very generous. Anyone who needs a transplant, has a altruistic donor who's blood related, can come forward. And as you can see, 1/3 of people we have transplanted are from India. And same for the donors. 1/3 of the kidney donors are from India. So as a kidney doctor working in UAE, what are the challenges which we face? As you know, most of the audience here is highly educated and people who know how to access high quality care. But the folks I look after day in, day out are blue collar workers who have poor health literacy. They don't get screened for kidney disease. They don't know where to go. So there is a lack of awareness that after 40, you should go and get screened for kidney disease. And obviously there's a distrust of healthcare systems, largely because, not because the healthcare systems are bad, it's just that the doctors working here, not all of them are Indians. I'm also Indian, but I cannot speak all the Indian languages. So there's a huge language barrier about educating. And also the families back home are distrustful of what's going on here. And there's a lack of educational resources in vernacular languages, like in Malayalam, like in Tamil, Kannada, or Punjabi. What is interesting when I found out is most of the long distance truck drivers are Sikhs, Punjabis. Okay, I speak Hindi, but many of my colleagues cannot. So how do we communicate with them or their loved ones? So I want to tell you a little bit of a story from last year. This is Najla, one of my patients. She was on dialysis here. Her husband and her 2 brothers wanted to give her a kidney, and they were incompatible. And obviously COVID hit their family business and they had to go back home. And but unfortunately, Najla was incompatible to her husband and her other donors. So we worked with Atul and his organization to connect with a kidney transplant doctor in India, Firoz, and we helped to facilitate what we call a paired kidney donation, which Atul will talk a little more detail about. So there are ethical solutions to be found, and there are people out there who can help as long as we engage them. So what is needed? We need a global network to help expatriate Indians with kidney disease. I left home 20 years ago, and if I end up on dialysis, my potential donors are back home in India. So how do I connect with them? So I obviously am IT savvy, I can reach out to folks, but what about those guys who don't have that much connectivity or the wherewithal to go and get those resources? So we need leaders in the society to help, because this is a disease affecting our whole community. So we need a platform where folks can come so that they can be connected to kidney professionals back home in India. Obviously, we have a very small donor pool, because if you think about my own immediate family, most of them are diabetic or hypertensive, so they can't donate to me. So we have a little small donor pool, and how do we maximize the opportunities? Something Atul will talk about. And Pallavi is going to talk about how we need to raise awareness about disease donation and living donation among our community, because a lot of it is misapprehension. So I don't know if you can hear this, but this was a young Indian family. Anand, who's she's from Tamil Nadu. Anand Purushottam, she works very closely with me. She's a transplant coordinator. So their young daughter died prematurely, and they came forward, and they came forward to donate their daughter's kidneys, and it helped 2 Indian children, and the liver was sent to Saudi. So what I want to tell you with this story is, we are part of this society in UAE, and we made this our home. And if we come forward to donate, or our loved one donate, people who will benefit are all our people anyway. The role ICAI and other Indian organizations could play is raising awareness. Anand and organizes these talks among Hindu temples, in the schools, Indian schools, and the Indian churches, just to raise about, hey, go and get screened. If you're 40 and above, go and get screened for kidney disease, just a simple blood test. Think about living healthily. And obviously talk about organ donation among your loved ones. Because you see, if I pass away prematurely, my family members will be at shock. But if they know my views, for them to, then when we come and canvas for organ donation, it's much more easier for them. And Pallavi is going to talk about that in a bit more detail. So final thoughts, like I mentioned, can't stress this enough. Please go and get your kidney function checked. So if I meet you personally, I want to know your creatinine values, please. And obviously your blood pressures, annual screen is important. I'm hoping our Indian embassy can help raise some kidney awareness among our population here, especially with the blue collar workers. And there are many professional organizations like this who can help us raise awareness, connect to people, and obviously talk about organ donation and brain death. At this stage, I would like to stop. Thank you very much for your thoughts. Thank you. I think so. Pallavi is next.
Pallavi, yeah, you can take over here.
You'll have to stop screen sharing. Yeah. Hi, good evening, everybody. Thank you so much, the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, the Abu Dhabi chapter, for having me here today. Very special thanks to Neeraj and Uma. I hope I'm able to do justice to the topic that's given to me in the short time that I have. I'll begin with introducing you to Mr. Ram Rawat. I just hope the sound plays. We did check it. Can you hear?
Yes.
नमस्कार, मैं राम रावत जयपुर से। मेरा हार्ट ट्रांसप्लांट हुआ 2018 मार्च में। डोनर के परिवार को कहने के लिए बहुत कुछ है, सिर्फ उतना मालूम पड़ा मेरे को कि सेलम से किसी भले मानुस का हार्ट आया था। ही वॉज अबाउट 35 years एंड इट वॉज ए एक्सीडेंटल केस। वो हार्ट मेरे को लगा था और यंग हार्ट लगा मेरे को, तो इसलिए मेरी इट वॉज ए सक्सेसफुल ट्रांसप्लांट ऑल्सो। उनके जहाँ तक परिवार की बात है, मुझे नहीं मालूम है कि कौन है क्या है, लेकिन मैं आज भी पूरे परिवार का आभार व्यक्त करता हूँ कि उन लोगों ने इतना बड़ा काम, इतना नेक कार्य किया है कि आज जो मैं आपसे बातें कर पा रहा हूँ और जो जितना आप खुश मेरे को देख रहे हैं, जिस हालत में देख रहे हैं, ओनली एंड ओनली बिकॉज ऑफ दैट फैमिली एंड दैट पर्सन जिनका मेरे को हार्ट लगा है। हार्ट ट्रांसप्लांट के बाद में अब जीवन एकदम नॉर्मल है और मैं बिल्कुल सारे काम वापस जैसे पहले करता था सब करता आ रहा हूँ। बाहर विदेश में जाता हूँ, देश में भी जाता हूँ, खूब ट्रैवलिंग कर रहा हूँ, खूब आराम से अच्छा जीवन व्यतीत कर रहा हूँ। आपको बता नहीं सकता हूँ कि मैं अपने परिवार के साथ में ये दूसरा जीवन, ये दूसरी इनिंग्स पा करके जितना खुश हूँ उतना शायद पहले भी नहीं रहा हूँ। मैं जिनसे मेरे को हार्ट मिला है, जिस परिवार से हार्ट मिला है, मैं उनका दोबारा आभार व्यक्त करता हूँ मन से। और मैं उनके लिए अगर कुछ भी कर सकूँ जीवन में मैं बहुत अपने आप को लकी फील करूँगा।
So that's Ram Rawatji, who really got a second innings at life, thanks to a donor whom he had never met and probably would never meet their family as well. But that's how his life got transformed. So you'll ask me, why donate organs? And this is the reason, because there are many Mr. Ram Rawats waiting on waiting lists for organ transplants across the world, especially in countries like yours and mine. And today it is Mr. Ram Rawat, tomorrow it could be someone we know, and maybe it could be one of us. We all could be, subject to a situation where we may need someone to act out of their goodwill, out of their altruism. And really, every organ wasted is a life lost, because there are people, like I said, there are never-ending waiting lists, and there are more people on the waiting list than we'll ever find donors for. So each one of us has to very seriously now start thinking about organ donation and what we would like to do once we are no more. So really, who can be a donor? We know there is a living donor because of the way we are made. We all have 2 kidneys and can survive with one. So we can donate a kidney, and we can donate a portion of a liver, because liver is a very unique organ. It has the ability to regenerate itself. But like Siddiq said, we may not always have someone willing to donate from our relative sides, B, someone who's got organs that are healthy enough that are going to be donated, and lastly, will they really match? So if I am someone who needs an organ and I don't have someone from within my family to donate, what do I do? So that's where deceased donation comes in, which is really donation after death. It is also because a living donor can only give a kidney and a portion of the liver. For every other organ, you need someone who is no more, who does not need those organs, and can give to others and to save their lives. Now, I've used a word called brain death there. Organ donation mostly can only happen in the case of what is called brain death. Very quickly, I wish I had the time to show you a 5-minute film that I have that I usually show, but it is really a severe, irreversible injury to the brain. So we're talking about something that you cannot reverse, not to be confused with coma. In coma, a person is in prolonged, deep state of unconsciousness, and perhaps may not even come out of that unconsciousness, may move to a vegetative state, but for all means and purposes, this person is alive, medically and legally, and we are not going to be taking out organs from someone who's alive. Whereas brain death results from a serious injury to the brain. The person is rushed to the hospital because the breathing is compromised. The person is put on a ventilator. Doctors do what they can to save the person, save the injury to the brain, the swelling in the brain. But that doesn't happen. The brain supply to the oxygen supply to the brain is cut off, and the person dies. Now, a person who's brain dead is a person dead. It's just that because the person was put on a ventilator before they died, before the brain death occurred, the organs are still getting oxygen. And this is the only unique situation where the person is dead, but their organs can still be used to save other lives. And that is a role we play. We speak to families at the time of death, at the time of brain death. And believe you me, it is not an easy job, because the family has just received the news of death. And now you're asking them to take a very big decision to donate organs. So this information needs to be absorbed in happier, healthier times, when you're not faced with such a serious situation of having lost someone. So very quickly, for any solid organ, which is a life-saving organ like lung, liver, kidney, pancreas, heart, you need someone who's brain dead. Whereas in natural death, you can donate tissues, and the most commonly donated tissue is the eye. Almost everybody can donate corneas, and I really cannot understand why anybody should say no to corneal donation. It is such a simple surgery. My own father, we donated his corneas. The team came, entered the house, retrieved the corneas in a matter of 20 odd minutes. My father also wanted to be an organ donor, but he had a natural death, and so of course we could not donate his solid organs. But there's certain precautions that you need to follow, which I may not be able to cover in detail because of paucity of time. But the idea is that you do it within 6 hours of death. Contact the nearest eye bank, keep the cornea moist. So put the fan off, and if possible, put the AC on. Coming to what the foundation does, really for the last almost 25 years, we've been trying to create public awareness on deceased organ donation. We work very closely with hospitals because donations are taking place in hospital. Our donor is in the hospital, in an ICU, on a ventilator. The hospital needs to be ready to make that donation happen. So we are a very strong training body on training both medical and paramedical staff on identifying brain death, on certifying brain death, and maintaining a brain dead person so the organs are in a good condition to be used for recipients. We train this very special group of people called the transplant coordinator. Siddiq mentioned Anand. These are the people who do the very unenviable task of speaking to families at the time of death and encouraging them to donate organs for people they have never seen and will never see. And of course, we work very closely with government, both at the state and the center. I would like to share with you this very special story. We have a 24/7 helpline, which we run in 8 regional languages. And on July 9, 2019, we received a call from this gentleman from a district, Kallakurichi district in Tamil Nadu. I've never even heard of the district. And his brother was in Dubai, who had just been declared brain death. And the doctors weren't really explaining to the family what was happening. And this brother in confusion called up the helpline and he's saying, what must we do? Is there a way we can bring my brother back to India? We are not able to take care of the expenses. And that's when the counselor explained, brain death. The counselor coordinated with a hospital in Dubai, and again, someone that Siddiq mentioned, Anand, a very special person. We coordinated with her. The family was spoken to, and ultimately the family agreed to donate organs, and 5 lives were saved because both the kidneys, liver, lung, and heart were donated. And that's the power of doing work together. That is the power of awareness and education. That is what we do. What can you do? You can become informed. You need to be educated as people. You need to understand what organ, because if you come across as aware and knowledgeable people, doctors have more confidence to give you information. Otherwise, they just leave it at that. So, understand what organ donation is and discuss it with your family members. Decide, is it something worth you looking into? Would you want your life to have more meaning once you know more, So then that's when you pledge your organs with your local state authority, however it works in Abu Dhabi. And second is give your time, become an ambassador for the cause. In fact, the foundation runs a one-day course very specially for volunteers. It trains them in such a manner that they can then go out and speak on organ donation like I am speaking to you. You can do it at your own level. So there's a course for that. You're more than welcome to write to me to know more about it. You could help financially. We have a very special program called Anudan, where we are supporting poor patients with transplants. As you know, there are very few government hospitals in India who are carrying transplant. Transplant is an expensive business, but we feel that it should be available to every citizen of our country. So we provide part financial support. We do fundraisers for them, and we do crowdfunding for them. And I'm going to end by introducing you to the family of a donor.
मेरे फादर मिस्टर हेमंत कुमार अग्रवाल की 12 मार्च को डेथ हो गई। उनको ब्रेन हैमरेज हुआ था, जिस वजह से उनका ब्रेन डेड हो गया था। हम लोगों को हमारी बुआ ने हमें बताया कि हम ब्रेन डेड में उनके ऑर्गन्स डोनेट कर सकते हैं। फिर हम लोगों ने डिसाइड करा कि हम उनका ऑर्गन्स डोनेट करना चाहते हैं। हमने ये डिसीजन इसलिए लिया क्योंकि हमें लगा कि इस डिसीजन से पापा विल लिव फॉरएवर और वो अलग अलग इंसान में जीते रहेंगे जैसे वो हमेशा जीते थे। ही वॉज अ पर्सन फुल ऑफ लाइफ, ही नेवर स्टॉप लिविंग हिज लाइफ एंड वी डोंट वांट हिम टू स्टॉप लिविंग आफ्टर ही इज डेड।
हेमंत एक बहुत जिंदा दिल इंसान थे और अपनी जिंदगी को उन्होंने शाही तरीके से जिया। बस इसी सोच के साथ मैंने उनके ऑर्गन डोनेट के लिए हाँ कर दी कि वो हमेशा अपने हमारे साथ तो शायद वो टाइम कम दे पाए और लोगों में वो जिंदा रहें, और इसी वजह से हमने उनकी फोटो पर आज तक माला नहीं चढ़ाई कि जब तक वो लोग जिंदा हैं तो हेमंत अग्रवाल भी जिंदा है।
पापा मतलब बहुत ही अच्छे इंसान थे, मतलब मेरे बिल्कुल एक बेस्ट फ्रेंड की तरह थे कि मतलब मेरे को कभी उन्होंने पढ़ाई के लिए प्रेशर नहीं डाला, मेरे सारे सपने पूरे किए। एंड बस अभी हम लोग और क्लोज आ ही रहे थे, फिर उनका जाने का टाइम आ गया।
heard a recipient talking and you heard a donor family talking. The decision is yours. You need to go back and discuss with your family members. You need to give this a thought. Death is really inevitable. You know, none of us are going to escape it. But there's something very beautiful that we can do with our death, you know, and not many of us get an opportunity to do good while we're alive. We are busy with work, we are busy with living. But here's this wonderful opportunity for you to do good once you're normal. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Pallavi ji, for the heart-touching messages that you passed and the moments you shared. Now I welcome Mr. Adul to deliver his speech on paired kidney self-transplantation, donation, unlocking opportunities. Over to you, sir.
Namaskar, everyone. Hello and good evening. Thank you to the ICAI leadership for inviting this topic into other serious discussions that I'm sure are technical discussions that you have. Uma, thank you for organizing it. Sandeep ji, thank you for participating and pitching it really well. I think you set it up really well, and I appreciate that. Fellow panelists and all attendees, thank you all. Pallavi, that was a very moving video, and I hope everyone takes a minute to soak it in, because these are not topics that we talk about every day. And when given an opportunity to hear about such topics, and maybe if you internalize, then we can all do good. So thank you, Pallavi. I am going to, let me share this with you. Just give me a second. I'm going to talk about one solution. I'm not going to talk about problem. I think Sid and Dr. Siddiq and Pallavi have already articulated the problem really well. I'm going to talk about a solution that's available now and here and is very ethical. You know, you've heard about black markets and challenges in raising more kidneys for patients. Here is one solution that's being used around the world, recently being introduced in UAE and India and our region. So I have the pleasure of talking about that. First off, let me quickly introduce the company that I'm representing, the organization that I'm representing. It's called as Alliance for Paired Kidney Donation, also known as APKD. Most nephrologists and surgeons already know about it. They would call it Alliance, which is another good way of defining us. We are an international not-for-profit based out of US. Our mission is to save lives by securing a living donor transplant for every patient who needs one. So no matter where the patient is in the world, if they need our help and if we can ethically bring solutions to them, that would be our goal, and that is something that you'll hear today. We have more than 40 transplant centers that use our solution in US. You know, not to mention that we are not for profit. We have centers all over the world. In over 15 countries, we are serving patients. We use a Nobel Prize winning algorithm developed by Professor Alvin Roth from Stanford to match the pool of incompatible patients. So let me just talk about, first of all, the algorithm. I had shared a small video where I had promised that I'll tell everyone how we bring economics, math, and medical science together to solve problems. So actually, I'm just going to wait for a second here. This algorithm unlocks additional 20 to 30% transplants. These are the key players involved. Obviously, Sid's picture should be here, given how much he's contributed to this space. Dr. Alvin Roth, he got the Nobel Prize in 2012 for creating an algorithm that would unlock patients who have incompatible donors. Dr. Mike Reese, he is a transplant surgeon. He was actually my transplant surgeon, and he's done over 1,000 transplants. He started this organization about 20 years ago. And myself, you know, my background is not medicine. It's not philanthropy by any means or not-for-profits. My background has purely been in Fortune 500 companies in US, developing them, transforming them, growing them, managing deals around the world. But in 2015, December of 2015, while I was on up and up in my company, I found out that I have a kidney, my kidneys have failed. And what does it mean when we say kidneys have failed? That means kidney function left us between 10 to 15%. Mine was 12. By the time I came to know about it, it was very surprising because everything, I was traveling around and didn't have any, it sort of creeped on me silently. And, once I had my failure, I think the world becomes dark for you. And I got lucky because in a couple of months, I did get a transplant. And I was able to restore normal life. I didn't have to be on dialysis. I didn't have to be tagged with a tube in my arm or my stomach all the time. I was able to, again, restore all my business functions of traveling around and doing business around the world. But at the same time, I came across a lot of people who sort of hadn't been that lucky. And I've always felt like the urge to do something. In 2016, December, actually, I had traveled to India with Dr. Rees and a couple of other nephrologists from India. We met the health minister at that time, Shri Nadda ji, and presented to him, and he was very favorable to it, but I think things just didn't move forward. So I felt like, some persistence is required in helping patients, especially I'm very passionate about India and also about, trying to make a difference to people in Middle East because there's so many Indians in Middle East as well. So I ended up joining APKD about 8 months ago to partner with Mike and Dr. Roth and start sort of focusing on these regions. What happens when you have kidney failure? I've tried to keep it simple, so not using too much technical or medical jargon in it. What happens when your kidneys fail? What options do you have? So largely your options are either you get a kidney transplant, which can come from a living donor or a deceased donor. I think Sid and Pallavi have talked about both of them. High survival rate. If you get a transplant, kidney living donor can get 12 to 20 years and increasing by the day. I think medicine is just improving and care is improving drastically for that number to go up. Deceased donor, you can get 8 to 12 years, longer too, but just sort of an average. If you don't get a kidney transplant, then you go to dialysis. In 5 years, 50% of people will survive. In 8 years, 20% people will survive. So it gives you life, it gives you some normalcy, it gives you more time with your family, but it doesn't give you a longer lifetime. Last option is you do nothing. And I'm not joking. I mean, you do nothing, and that's what a lot of poor people do. That's what a lot of expats in UAE do. They do nothing and then land back in India. They don't have the money to take care of themselves. I think Sid talked about that. Crash land or dialysis, crash land in India to die. Or whatever. I mean, I don't want to say India, but go back to a native country to die. Or it happens in the US as well. People have to earn living for their family and their life is not their top priority at that point. So let's say you get lucky and you have a living donor, which is your best option, which, as you know, in India, almost all transplants are living donor transplants. In UAE, almost all transplants are living donor transplants. So you have a living donor, but you don't match. Guess what? Now you got to wait for a deceased donor, or you got to go to dialysis, or you have to do nothing. So what is the solution to a problem of having a donor but not being compatible? This is where Al came in. Mike had been developing sort of a medical match mechanism for about 25 years ago, and was successfully doing some of that. Al stepped in and he said, no, I mean, I think in this match, it's not a question of just a medical match. It is also a fairness of trade. A trade in which no money is exchanged. but organs are given. One person's donor is ready to give an organ to another person's donor to save their patient's life. In that, it needs to be fairness. So that is the concept of swap donation, and the algorithm we use is it actually looks at fairness of this trade between two pairs or multiple pairs so that everyone feels satisfied that they got a good shake. Everyone feels satisfied that they got a good medical match. And everyone feels satisfied that they'll get transplanted in a reasonable time. So what is a swap transplant? You put in two pairs in a room and sort of date match them. You kind of look at them and say, hey, my donor can give you the kidney. Can your donor give me the kidney? Because, we don't match our donors, but we match each other's. Now, that does solve a lot of problems, but it doesn't often happen that you just find another pair that just matches you so brilliantly, right? Now we are talking about the economics of it, which is like how to get a fair match, a good quality match, medical match. That means now you need more people. So this is where then multi-pair exchange comes in. Now there's technical words for it. I'm just keeping it simple for our audience here. Meaning you put not just two pairs in a room to date match, you put a whole bunch of them. And oh, by the way, they could be across the boundaries. They could be from another country, another region, another state, another whatever. You put them all in a room and you start matching them against each other, creating chains that are ethical, creating chains that are fair, and creating chains that are medically viable. So, actually, we ran a simulation one time. I think Sid was part of that. In a simple pool, we were able to create like 25 such matches. Now, while algorithmically it's sound, it does create a few challenges. For example, there's a tremendous amount of logistics and coordination involved in it, meaning now you need to coordinate every person, every donor needs to be on the table getting, nephrectomy giving organ at the same time. And every patient needs to be well and healthy at the same time. All doctors need to be coordinated, all transplant coordinators need to be coordinated. Not an easy task. And then many times, if let's say you're doing in a small city or state, they may not have all the resources. They may not have the number of teams to do the transplant or number of operating theaters to do the transplant. What if somebody gives a kidney and the other person backs out at the last minute? So you can't put donors at risk or patients at a disadvantage. So now we are coming up with a lot new best practices. One of them is we start the chain with an altruistic donor, meaning a donor who's not related to a patient just wants to give. Now, not possible in India, in most of the states other than Kerala, but in US, and we are working on UAE laws to make it possible. In that sort of a scenario, a person is not giving a kidney to an individual. They're just giving a kidney. That's the ethic of it. And then that kidney is used to create shorter chains. And at the end of each chain is a kidney left. So this is the future of where I think this world is going now. This is an example of a real life example of altruistic donor initiated chain. And this was on 2009, 10 people got transplanted in a chain by one person from Michigan who just walked into a hospital and said, hey, I feel like my life is about giving and I'd like to give a kidney. Those doctors got together with other centers and said, look, we are going to get one kidney. You have patients that are unmatched. We'll put them in a pool and try to match them and see how many lives we can save. That one donation saved 10 lives. And now all of these transplants didn't happen at the same time because there's always a kidney left over at the end of each chain. So the longest chain created through this has been about 60 to 70 people. So now coming back to what we've been doing in UAE. So in UAE, Sid talked about there's 60% of the people with ESRD are expats. This is the data about people on hemodialysis. And I suspect that the ESRD data sort of matches people on hemodialysis. As you can see, 60% people, 60% of the blue is all expats, Emiratis. And the rest you can see are from different countries. And obviously India is showing up as one of the top countries from where, the patients are. As you look at this population, Sid actually came across a resident of UAE who's been looking for kidney for a while. A mother needed a kidney, and several family members were willing to donate a kidney, but none was matching. And it's not uncommon for women to not find a kidney from their children, because during pregnancy, they get sensitized to their children, meaning their children are usually never able to give them kidney. So a mother, loving family, everyone willing to give her kidney, but no one matching her. So Sid brought that problem to us, and we started looking for a match for her. We talked to, some of the people in the region. We tried to match first in the pool that we have in UAE. We unfortunately couldn't find a match. Then we started finding a match in other countries that we have relationships with to see if this person, the law and economics would allow for this person to travel to another country and get a pair match. And there's a lot of countries, as you know, in Gulf that sort of would allow that to happen. Couldn't find a match. We found a match for them in her in Israel. So this is the combination that we found. The daughter from Abu Dhabi would give a kidney to a wife in Rambam, and Rambam is in Tel Aviv. Rambam is in Haifa, Israel, which is a little bit north. The husband from Rambam Hospital in Haifa will give a kidney to a mother in Sheba, which is in Tel Aviv. The daughter of Sheba would give the kidney to the mother in Abu Dhabi. Now, I think the challenge there is, I think good match, but UAE and Israel had just declared that they wanted to work together. So there are challenges associated with sort of, trying to make it happen between two countries. You guys know the geopolitics and the nature of relationships within this region well. Our focus was simply to help save patients. And we, luckily for us, we worked with folks on this side, on the UAE side and Israel side, whose focus was exclusively that. Just let's find ways to, to save these patients. In between, and this started happening in April. So in May, there was, as you know, there was political upheaval and sort of warlike situation in Israel. Government changed, and then we found this one window where everything seemed like, we can make it happen. So this took about 4 months of facilitation by us between these two countries, forming structures of different agreements between them, harmonizing their standards. For example, just how do I treat a COVID patient? What's the COVID protocol? What's the, testing protocol at your end? All those things needed to be harmonized. Some, other structures need to be cleared out. For example, a kidney coming from Israel will not go through an X-ray. Small things that seem small, but take an effort to put together. So finally, on July 28th, we were able to do this 3-way transplant between the two countries. This is Dr. Rees. This is the kidney, UAE kidney going to the airport. This is Dr. Ali Obaidli, the chairman of the transplant committee in UAE. Dr. Mike Rees sitting in the back seat. This is the escort car and the ambulance heading down to a private airport where the kidney was flown from Israel in a private jet, met at this private airplane, and the kidneys were exchanged. These are the 3 people that sort of worked for months behind the scene to facilitate this agreement. Dr. Ali Obaidli, the chairman of the transplant organization of UAE, Dr. Tamar Ashkenazi, similar role in Israel, Ministry of Health, both these gentlemen and myself. This is a picture of kidney coming to us in this private jet and then our kidney going there. As you can see, we use, we want to ensure at any given time that our kidneys are, kidneys are not lost in this process, because now we're shipping the kidneys and all that stuff is happening. So you see there's a tracker that shows the kidney coming all the way here. The tracker is showing the kidneys going back, and then even within the city travel. Obviously, this is the people that sort of, made it happen. Sid is not in this, but obviously a very, very important role from Sid. This is myself, Dr. Rees, the gentleman who heads he was the CEO of SEHA, Steve, Dr. Abesley, Dr. Ashkenazi, and the CEO of SEHA. And, it has just been wild news, as you know, just the news has caught fire all over the world. But we are not about, I think what I want to clarify, we are not about this, making this big, and this is not about making this about Israel and UAE and how it may happen. It's about saving people's life in these countries. And for us, it isn't about just doing one transplant exchange and being done with it. It's about creating a sustainable way to do it. So after the transplant, we actually went and met pretty much all the folks, all the ministers from Ministry of Health, whether it was federal minister or ministers of individual emirates, to talk to them and to reinforce to them how this happened, gaining their alignment to do this. This is us at the Department of Health. This is us with the Federal Minister of Health. Then we met the head of insurance. We had the head of insurance organization, the MAM, then the head of insurance regulatory committee, as well as head of the central bank, Emirates Red Crescent, Ma'an, or the social welfare organization, just to talk to them about how these things are done and how their support is required, and actually gaining their support to do it. Phenomenally great country from that aspect. There's not a single person who isn't willing to chip in to help patients, whether they are Emirati or residents of this country, to the extent that they are willing to pay transplant costs and dialysis costs and actually donor-related costs for all these patients as well. So I hope I haven't gone over my time. How can you help? I think that's one of the questions that sort of, is on everyone's mind. First of all, be a champion. Now you know different solutions that are available, deceased kidney, living kidney, dialysis, and the pros and cons of that. Be a champion. If you come across a patient in your family, friend circle, your workplace, talk to them about the options and connect them to one of us. Make a difference through your means. Register to be an organ donor. Work with social organizations. Uma is doing some phenomenal work. Maybe you can support some of her endeavor around putting together education program, other camps, medicinal camps, getting donors registered. And lastly, the easiest thing to do is to create a fund to help patients donors. As Sid pointed out, a lot of these, the patients are industrial workers they're the single earner from their family back home. Maybe you can sponsor their donor to come over. Maybe you can sponsor funds for, donor to get tested in India and so forth. So that's my time. Thank you very much, everyone. I'm happy to take any questions.
Hi, thank you, Mr. Atul, for this cinematic experience that we had. It's really unbelievable to visible, but you made it happen. That's a wonderful thing. And thank you to all the three speakers, Dr. Siddique and Ms. Pallavi and Mr. Atul. All of them have showed it is possible for every one of us. That we can be the champions in that. And definitely I'm directing to the question and answer sections. So I request anyone having any further questions, they can post it. I have one or two collected from my end. First thing, recently we have we are all hearing about the stem cell treatment. So something can be possible in case of this renal disease. I think Dr. Siddique can address this question. Sir, you are on mute, sir.
So kidney is a highly differentiated organ. Kidney, I just assume kidney just clears toxins, but it regulates hormone, blood salts, it produces hormones, and there's many functions it does. So stem cell is obviously an undifferentiated cell, and the kidney is a terminal differentiated cell. So we've not reached that science yet to convert a stem cell into kidney. There's a lot of work happening. That's probably after my lifetime. It will come unless some magic innovations happen and we have a moon landing moment. But I think so. My only concern when I hear about these stem cell stories is people who are looking for a panacea, like a miracle. And actually, what needed to prevent kidney failure is very simple things which everyone can afford. Eat less salt, eat less carbs, exercise, and drink a lot of water. I mean, this is cheap. I mean, you don't have to do anything. You don't have to do any fancy diets. And I think so. What I would like to take is there are some kidney diseases which runs in families, some autoimmune diseases which we can't stop. But most 95% of my job is dealing with lifestyle diseases which cause kidney failure. And I feel if the take home is go and get screened for kidney disease if you're above 40, eat healthy, drink a lot of water. Thank you.
And just extending.
I think, can I add something to that?
Yeah, sure.
I think, I fully support actually Sid's point, and I'll give you an example. Mike Rees, who started APKD, Dr. Mike Rees, he always says that when he was being trained at Oxford, he worked extensively on pig kidney. And he thought that this is 30 some years ago. He said he thought that in 5 years, people would be implanting pig kidneys. And it's still not happened. So I think the point is the extensive testing is required when you want to, bring in a medical miracle like that.
Okay, thank you, sir. And the next question is that if many of our members definitely get motivated with decisions, definitely they would like to go or to be registered as a donor, actually can be any organs. So what can be the procedure within the UAE, or like being an Indian citizen over here? Can it be only done in India, or like can I do register in UAE and be a partner, be a donor?
There's actually an app which was launched by the government of Abu Dhabi called Al Hayat app, which you can download and can register yourself as a donor. But it's not just, as Pallavi mentioned, and Pallavi may have some thoughts on this as well, it's not just a question of registering on an app. You need to discuss in your family and express that I want to be a donor. Because in the end, we don't have what we call an opt-out system. Opt-out system is the government, the state will take the organs. This is an opt-in system where we have to canvass the views of the family. The families sometimes are at the shock of death of their loved one. They are unable to process all this information when we approach them. So it's very important as family members to tell our family members, hey, if something happens to me, and if my organs can be used to save someone, please do that. So if because in the end, my body is my property, and I need to divide my property like I do my wealth. Before dying, express a living will that this is what I want to happen. Pallavi, your thoughts of doing this for many years than me? Thank you.
I agree with you, Sid. Really have that conversation with your family. Both UAE and India follow the same system where the family's decision is the final decision, no matter what you've done, whether you've signed. Now India has also introduced the option in a driving license. Ultimately, it's the family's decision that will be respected. So you can't determine how and where you will die. So you have that conversation and be ready for it. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, to add into that, if like some will or something I can write it, if I have not been registered, is something is required for the family to take this decision.
Just the will, Manish. I would like to believe that if you have spoken to your family with a certain degree of conviction and passion to say, this is important to me, I would like to believe that family members would like to respect your decision, you know.
Definitely, that's
Yeah.
wonderful. And I hope that, as Mr. Atul said, like the harmony among the nations bring the new swapping system, swapping donations, let it be a globalized one. And I believe that I have to move on. We have a lot more questions, but because of the time limitations. So I invite Shafiq to hand over our certificates as an honor.
Yeah, I just want to bring out some memories that after the session. In our last year annual seminar, we had one speaker, Mr. Chittapillai. He is a billionaire and chairman of one of a large corporate V-Guards. And he was the one who said that he donated his kidney to an unknown person. And it was an eye-opener for most of the listeners, for our members, that a person at that stature who's a chairman of a large corporate and he's donating his kidney to someone unknown. And he started a chain that anyone who's a recipient, one of his family member has to donate kidney. And probably this is something which is very unique and never heard of. So today's session also, I think, brings out a lot of things that, yes, how and why donation is so important. So thank you all the speakers for the wonderful session. And
I just want to say that
certificate of appreciation to all of you.
I just want to say something there. Actually, we met, me and Atul met Mr. Kochu Joseph from V-Guard, and actually Kerala is actually in the forefront of some of the things which we are talking about here, but it's the North India and the other states we need to engage with, and because all of us come from parts of India, all parts of India, and hopefully this message which we have said can be spread to your families back home. You know. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Neeraj. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Monish. It is my privilege to introduce Srimati Gijare. Srimati Gijare is a certified clinical hypnotherapist and regression therapist recognized by the Dental and Medical Association of Europe, USA, and by KHDA. Srimati has worked successfully on clients across the globe on several ailments and helped them lead a holistic life. Srimati was geophysicist by qualification and profession and has been in oil and gas industry for last 15 years. She is alumnus of Indian Institute of Technology, Kharagpur, India, and recently her story was published in the alumni web page. She is based in Dubai, but have clients in UK, USA, India, Singapore, Sweden, and Australia. So without wasting more time, I hand over to her to enlighten us with her knowledge and experience. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay. Thank you, everyone. I want to thank first the esteemed guest of honor, Mr. Sandeep Kumar, for his presence. And I also want to thank the entire Abu Dhabi CA chapter, the CA Neeraj, Shafiq, who has been very patient with my questions now and then. And one name I have to mention today is Rajiv Datar, because he has been there. He was the one who said, why don't you present? So here I am. Thank you. Today's my topic is soul, mind, body connection. And though it may seem, the topic seems very, spiritual and all that, I'm going to explain to it in a very scientific way. I'll try to do my best. So if I were to explain to you in terms of layman terms, in terms of computer language, soul, mind, and body. The body would be the hardware, the mind, the software, and the soul would be the power connection. So how does diseases connect to all of this? The diseases would be the bugs. First, they corrupt our software, that's the mind, and then they come on the body, the physical, the hardware. So I want to unfold the story in front of you and explain to you. Little about me, it has already been said. Yes, I have been a geophysicist by background, and I've been in the oil and gas industry, and I've worked in MNCs like Schlumberger and Weatherford. And recently, my story got published in IIT Kharagpur, which is an honor, I feel, because not everything is about money. That's what I realized then. Hypnotherapy came to me as my inner calling because nobody in my family or nobody in my friends, nobody even heard about it, neither did I hear about it. And without much publicity, I got clients and they started healing. So my qualifications are all shared right now. I am also doing an added qualification, which is a post-graduation on transpersonal regression therapy from Netherlands. So with that, I'm going to talk about the science of hypnotherapy. Yes, it is a science. It's not a magic. So science of hypnotherapy has been with us from 4000 BC. Okay, the Babylonians used it. The Chinese used it in their medicine in 2000. 1700, this practice got formalized. And Dr. James Braid used hypnotherapy as an anesthesia, and he worked and he did operations. So just imagine if there's no anesthesia used. So there's no process to subdue the pain. So if there's no pain, the healing is obviously much faster. So modern day hypnotherapy is found to be useful in physiological, psychological, and psychosomatic issues. The most common is speaking up in the West as hypnodental procedures. So you do not use general anesthesia or partial anesthesia. You just go for your dental process. And hypnobirthing, so no epidural during the birth. So with that, I come to a question like, okay, that's fine, we get it. But do you think, can I be hypnotized? To those skeptics, I have these 4 scenarios. If you answer to any of the scenario is yes, then yes, you can be hypnotized. So have you ever heard a song and instantly remembered an event that happened years before? Have you read a book and you were totally oblivious to someone asking you a question because you're so glued to the book? Have you ever watched children closely when they're watching TV? You call their name, they're not even listening. They're glued to the TV. So have you ever cried while watching a movie, knowing fully well that it's just a movie? So if the answer to any of the scenario, if your answer was yes, then yes. These are the times when you went into a different state of awareness. Because hypnosis is nothing but a different state of awareness. Basically, we all go into a trance-like state when we are just waking up in the morning, when we are not awake fully, but we are there, but not fully yet, when we are about to go to sleep. So basically, hypnotherapy is a form of psychotherapy that uses relaxation, extreme concentration, and intense attention to achieve a heightened state of awareness, consciousness, and mindfulness. So in other words, it places the individual into a trance or an altered state of awareness. So how effective is this hypnosis? So when I say that, this particular slide kind of sums it all up. So hypnosis, if you see, the study has been done by the American Health Magazine way back in 2006. So the recovery rate with hypnotherapy with 6 sessions is 93%. With CBT, that is cognitive behavioral therapy, 22 sessions, 72% is the recovery rate. And with psychoanalysis, see the number of sessions, way beyond others, recovery rate, 38%. So 600 sessions, and this is the recovery rate. So this kind of says, wow. So where is this useful? Hypnotherapy is found beneficial in pain control. I already touched upon it when I said hypnobirthing, hypnodental procedures. Apart from that, it can help in reducing pains due to burns, IBS. I've had several clients who are suffering for IBS for years. Joint pains, headaches, migraines. I have several clients with migraines also. All come out of it. So hypnotherapy is again useful in reducing hot flashes, okay, for women who are just nearing menopause. And also it has been found to be very, very beneficial for menstrual issues and problems. This is the only therapy which works for behavioral change, okay, like be it insomnia, bedwetting or enuresis, smoking or overeating. So hypnosis can be very, very useful in reducing the side effects related to chemotherapy and radiation treatment. Again, this is the only process which works in reducing symptoms of anxiety, trauma release, fear, phobia, because there's no medication for it. So with that, I come to the basis of like why is this happening? 93% recovery rate, that's huge, but how is this happening? So the theory of mind, the software which I was talking about earlier, mind comprises of the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. The conscious mind is 10 to 12%, and the subconscious is 88 to 90%. So what does the conscious mind do? Thinks, decides, analyzes, logically, rationally, everything. So what does the subconscious mind do then? So this is the zone where your logical answers of most of your illogical questions related to your life situations are stored. So basically it's a database. So it stores all the information. So I'll give you an example of your subconscious mind. You meet someone, say in a grocery store, and you're like, I know this guy, but the name doesn't come up. And you give it some thought and like, forget it. 3 days down the line, when you're not even thinking about it, boop, the name comes up. So that's because you gave a command to your subconscious mind. The recall took time, but it did come because the subconscious never fails. Just by looking at the pictograph of it, you've understood the subconscious mind is not only 9 times bigger, it is 6,000 times more powerful. Okay, I already mentioned it's a database. It also controls all your involuntary actions, everything. Okay, so your heart is beating without you interfering in it. Everything is getting taken care of by the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind has a part of it is a primitive mind, which I will call as evolutionary memory. I'll touch upon more as my slides proceed. But we are born with 2 ways to handle any crisis. The first is fight. The second is flight, autonomous nervous system. Okay, so when there's a crisis in life, the body prepares. Okay, there's a crisis, I have a crisis, emergency. So either we fight the situation or we flight. We fight with the hands, we flight with the legs. So the body prepares. So in that case, to run that extra mile, so my heart is beating very fast. But when the crisis gets over, I mean, your heart can't keep on pumping that fast for a longer period of time, obviously. So when the crisis gets over, you have to come back to homeostasis. Yeah, but so as I said, fight and flight is what we are born with, but we have picked up a new way of handling any kind of crisis, which is playing dead. So we neither we fight nor we flight, we play dead. So there's a lot of internalization, and that leads to modern day stress. So the stress button, the crisis mode is always on for us. So when that is on, like imagine if your crisis mode is always on, your fight and flight is high, you're active, like you alert because the crisis is there. When that is happening, the digestive process, like because the energy of your body is focused for you to run or fight. So at that point, your survival is the key. So the body would not put any energy to digest your food. So that's why if you say modern day stress, IBS is so common, or any kind of gut issues and all that. So that is the reason of modern day stress and anxiety and other diseases are connected with it. So there are many issues which the hypnotherapy or hypnosis can work, but the fear of loud noises and fear of falling, we cannot work. Why? Because that's our evolution from the Big Bang Theory. Like that's why even a child will react to a loud noise or the fear of falling. A child would have that. So I have drawn some disc here. So what does it mean? Basically, I should be working with my software of my current age. All right. But there is something in me unexplainable. The moment I am asked to go on a lift, I freeze. So there's a software change happening. Okay. And I'm not even aware. It is so unexplainable. I have no idea why I freeze at the sight of the lift. Claustrophobia. Okay. So there's a software shift which is happening and I have no control. So there is where your subconscious mind has the answer to all of it. Okay. Basically, when an information comes to us, it comes to the conscious mind and it stays there for 1 to 1.5 hours. Okay, it stays there. And the process, like the mind can process about 4,000 message units per minute. Okay, so from the conscious mind, between the conscious mind and the subconscious mind, there's something called critical filter. Now, what's a critical filter? Critical filter is developed. I mean, we are all born enlightened. Okay, critical filter is developed from a year of 0 to 8 years. So a child doesn't have any inhibitions whatsoever. Wherever he poos, he can pee and he can eat at the same place. He can go in and talk to a stranger, no problem. This critical filter is developed from seed. Socio-economic, education, and religion. So we train the child to handle the world. So that's a critical filter. Now that critical filter, like basically it's a layer of judgment. Okay, so if you see the clearing of critical filter, when you're working very hard, even though it's not a physical work, mentally you get tired. And that's because there's a lot of clouding happening in your critical filter. And that is why clearing off your critical filter is very important. And how does this happen? Sleep. Sleep is the biggest antidote for any kind of issues. You sleep, next day you're refreshed. So clearing off critical filters through sleep, meditation helps big time to calm you down. Hypnosis, and of course, breath work. So once the clearing of the critical filter happens, the message units, which first was taken in the conscious mind, goes and stays in the critical filter, where it stays there for 24 hours. After that, the critical filter decides, should I keep the information or should I reject? Okay. So what is stored in the database of the subconscious mind is all the experiences. So all the experiences which is known to me, even though it can be bad, is pleasurable because it's known to me. Whatever is not known, it is rejected. That is why even though an experience is good, but since you have not experienced it, your mind rejects it. That's very common. So any new idea, that's why faces a lot of criticism. Sorry, not interested. Even though if it's beneficial for me, I don't want it. So that's why, because it's pain. Subconscious mind takes it as a pain, okay, because it's not experienced it. So as I said, it stays in the 24 hours in the critical mind, and then it goes to the subconscious mind. When in hypnosis, we reject, we do not even talk to the conscious mind, we do not talk to the critical filter, we straight away talk to the subconscious mind. That's why, since we are talking to the subconscious mind, and we have already established the subconscious mind is not only 6,000 times more powerful, it is also 9 times bigger. That's why the recovery rate is so high. Beat any problem. So with that, I come to an understanding, like I want to explain to you how this is happening when you're awake, when you're in sleep, or when you're in hypnosis. What is happening to the conscious mind and what is happening to the subconscious mind. So when you are awake, your conscious mind is awake and in control, of course. But your subconscious mind is always awake and in control. When you're sleeping, your conscious mind has no idea what's happening around, so no control. Subconscious mind is always awake and in control. In hypnosis, this conscious mind is awake, but it has no control. Subconscious mind, again, is awake and in control. So having said that, the difference between a hypnosis and hypnotherapy is with permission only. Okay, it can be only worked when someone agrees. So if someone comes to me, can you work on my husband for him to get rid of smoking? Well, no, I can't, unless your husband agrees on it. So it's only with permission. The second thing which I want to bring into account, like I want to tell you, is Hypnosis, like every science has its pro and a con. So as I said, conscious mind is always awake. Okay, it has no control. Yes, it can be used in a negative way as well. That's why this term has such a negative connotation. But hypnotherapy, it's really beneficial, and I'm going to explain more on that. So with that, I come to a slide. What do we, it's a philosophical slide. What do we need most in life? So people say, oh, you know what, I want a promotion, I want to have a child, I want to get married, I want to buy my Tesla, whatever that is. What is that going to give you? Happiness. And that is, so we are looking for happiness. But what is it that's not making me happy? Maybe it's my own behavior isn't to my satisfaction, or somebody else's behavior is causing inconvenience to me. So in order to become happy and balanced, what if I identify the issues involved? So where are these issues coming from? So that these are the 4 major issues. They are creating the havoc in our life, I would say, the pillars, the negative emotions, which is creating havoc in our life. The first, I did something wrong. So what am I feeling today? Guilty. Somebody did something wrong to me. What am I feeling for that person? Anger. Okay, I didn't do anything wrong. Somebody didn't do wrong. But the situation was such that I couldn't keep my promise. So what am I feeling right now? Helplessness. So these are the negative pillars, the 3 pillars of creating havoc. There's one more. What if? That is a what if. Something which has not even happened. What if I lose my job? What if I lose my near and dear one? What if? So if you see, these 4, the first 3, guilt, anger, and helplessness, are from the past, something which has already happened. And fear and anxiety is from the future, which has not happened yet, but I'm having the fear of it. So what is it I need in the present to be happy? Okay, so in the present, like, fine, I did a mistake. I know that. So what do I do for it now? I'm responsible for it. I take action for it. Somebody did something wrong. Fine. So the only thing, the anger is one of the most negative emotion. It's like a slow poison inside your system. It kills you slowly. So when you're angry on someone, it doesn't really matter to the person to whom you're angry actually. It doesn't matter. It actually kills you from inside. So the only solution for that is forgive and forget. But you will say what? Very easy for you to say. No, when you forgive and forget, you are actually giving yourself the permission to move on. Yeah. And helplessness. COVID made us all helpless. Okay. So what do we do now for that? I mean, like, the whole idea is, where is your focus? You can only care and prepare and leave the rest. Anxiety and worry, does it help you in any way? No, just empower yourself. Your focus, care and prepare, and choose to move on is what the answer is. With that, I come to my most important slide. And I'm going to take time on this slide. I'm going to explain this slide to you in terms of physics. We have 4 bodies. Yes, the physical body we all know, fine. Yeah, but let me explain to you in terms of physics. As I said, the first body is your thought body. Okay, so potential energy. Every thought has a potential to become something really big. Yeah, so that thought body is our causal body. So that potential, when it goes inside your body, it has now motion, so kinetic energy. And that emotion, that creates an emotion in you. That's your astral body. If I were to ask you, what are you thinking? Probably you cannot tell me. But what are you feeling? Yes, you can tell me. I'm feeling angry, I'm feeling worried, I'm feeling jealous, I'm feeling scared. These are tangible emotions. Yeah. Now that emotion of yours, it's already in the body, you're feeling it. That matches with your energy levels, your chakra body. So energy means, if you're feeling angry, your body is going to match that. Your hormones are going to match that energy. You're going to, you just stamp your feet, you bang the door. You didn't tell yourself that I'm going to do it. It's just happening. So when you're happy, you're humming that beautiful tone, and you just walk in and everybody knows, oh, you're happy. What's the news? So what I'm trying to say, your emotions are now matching. Your energy body matches your emotion. Okay, so, and that is your chakra body, because we have 7 chakras and our endocrine glands are located on these chakras. And finally, your physical body, okay, your hardware. Now, when we have an issue with us on the physical body, okay, we go to a doctor. The doctor looks at it. It's a symptomatic approach, and he gives a medication, and then probably you get better, and sometimes you don't. There's a relapse. Most of the time is because you didn't go and you didn't understand the cause of it. So this is a more holistic approach, integrated approach. You go to the cause of it. Once you understand the cause of it, the recovery is permanent. Okay, so I'm going to quickly go to the chakra slide. I was just talking about the energies. So as I said, we have this 7 chakras, and our major endocrine glands are located on these chakras. Okay, and the flow of energy is the flow of life within us. When these chakras are blocked, this can lead to some physical diseases, mental imbalances as well. So the first chakra, your root chakra, the gland is adrenal gland. Then is your sacral chakra. Swadhisthana, gonad gland. Here is your Manipura, solar plexus. The gland is pancreatic on top of it. Then Anahata, the heart chakra, the thymus gland is on top of it. This is your Visuddha, throat chakra, thyroid gland. We all know, I mean, what it all of it does. Then is your Ajna, third eye, pineal gland. And Sahasrara is your crown chakra, hypothalamus gland. I actually gave an entire presentation on this. I'm just telling you how your energy body is so important, how important it is for your chakras to be balanced. So with that, I come to what are the issues I've worked on, what all can be done. So I have worked with people with low self-confidence, cessation to smoking, public speaking, bad habits, accident trauma release, attention and focus deficiency, phobias, allergy, tinnitus. For these, there are no medication, nothing. So motion sickness, PCOD, fibroid, psoriasis, anxiety and depression, thyroid, chronic pains, high BP, IBS. This list goes on. Menstrual issues, vaginitis, Crohn's disease. There's a lot. And you can read more about it because my clients have written to me that they have got better, and I have all these testimonials. I'm going to present few case stories here because of the limitation of time. So who are my clients? So as I already said, my clients are people who have issues which can be treated medically and also which cannot be. Allergies, is there any treatment? No. Phobias, nothing. Public speaking, confidence, nothing. My clients are there. The reason I put this up is just to tell you that I work both face-to-face and online. My clients from Abu Dhabi obviously are all also online clients. So 85% of my clients are online. My youngest client is 6 years old and my oldest is 76 years old. The 6-year client came because she had myopia. It's just been 2 weeks. I have not got the results yet for her. My oldest client is 76 years old. She had vaginitis and she's completely out of it. So when a client comes to me, there's obviously a non-disclosure agreement, which is crucial. But having said that, when a person comes with an issue and one person completely recovers, it is very important to understand this is my movement. It's when a person writes to me, a feedback is not really for me. It is also because that their body has gone a lot of change and they have to accept the new self. And when they say this, also they also light candles, they're like a light to others and give hopes to others who are also facing the same issue. How many sessions are needed? Depends. I have already mentioned in the beginning, there are 6 sessions, which gives the best results. But having said that, I have also had clients who have seen amazing results. Like I have migraine, snoring, BP clients with just 1 or 2 sessions, thyroid client, they have got results. It's very individualistic. The sessions are 1.5 hours long, 1 to 1.5 hours, again depends. Do I record these sessions? Not really. But when I do record certain parts of it, when there is a suggestion based, when I have clients who come for weight loss, and when somebody comes for procrastination, somebody comes for self-confidence, I do record certain parts and give it. What is my recovery rate? Like when clients come to me, the recovery rate is 94% because there are dropouts. Because as I said to you earlier, am I ready for the change? Yeah, you tell me my BP will go, but am I okay for that? Am I okay to understand what caused it? Not everyone is. So even when they start the journey, they drop out. But people who have stuck with me, I've seen 100% recovery rate, and I'm going to show those stories, few of them in my next slide. So this particular client of mine had diabetes for 10 years, and she also had IBS. She openly claims it. She also allowed Facebook tag and all that. She was very happy with her healing journey. What is the main reason of having diabetes or IBS? So IBS is a stomach, solar plexus getting blocked. There was a lot of control issues she was facing. Diabetes happens when there's no sweetness left in your life. There's some kind of doom feeling, okay? How do I know that they're okay? Their medical report states. So after 6 sessions, she did 6 sessions, she was out of diabetes, first time in her life. So if you can see, her results are out here in the open. This particular client of mine came to me for weight loss. She was with me for 2 months. Weight loss is one of the most difficult because it takes time to show. But with weight loss, she also lost her fear for heights. She had constipation issues. She had menstrual issues. All of them, she got over it. And she was kind enough to share her transformation. She lost, as of now, she's lost 14 kilos. But that time she was, when she shared it with me, 11 kilos, and she dropped 3 sizes. This particular client of mine, the mom is sharing the success story here because she says her son had tonsillitis and thyroid for the last 10 years. So from 7 years old, he was having these medications. And after, this was actually a very phenomenal result because in 2 sessions, he came out of it. And first time ever, he was not having hypothyroidism, and he was off the pills. Again, not just because he was feeling that way, his medical reports says that he's off. So this particular client from US, she had motion sickness and snoring issues. She had it for years. So motion sickness is when you're trapped. You feel there's a feeling of trapped. And she had it. Once she understood it, she could come out of it. These are very subtle. Again, the story is yours. It's just that you have to unlock it and understand it. When you go to the root cause of it, the solution is permanent. As I said to you, this particular client of mine happens to be my sister. I'll spend some time in this. So she is a PhD holder. She is a senior vice president in HSBC. She's the biggest critic. She was like, what the hell are you doing? You studied in IIT, now you're doing this. What are you doing? And then she booked a session, and I realized she's serious at this point. Yes, she's my sister. So I knew she had thyroid issues. So throat chakra was completely blocked. I knew that. But what I didn't know was, at that point when she contacted me, she had cervical spondylitis pain. So we did the session, and I was not expecting much because she was my first online client. And being a sister, I was not expecting any results. The next day she called me and she said, what? I don't know what you've done. And whatever you told me, I have done. And I'm facing that I can move my neck aram se. There's no issue at all. So right now she's a biggest convert, and she's done a lot of sessions with me, and she's completely healed. Her thyroid is well under control. This particular client of mine, from the day she started her periods, she used to get irregular periods, nausea, vomiting, cramps, backache, headaches, immense pain, okay? And she would miss school sometimes. She's a brilliant student. She'd miss school sometimes and she'll be completely go inactive. But this time, this was the first time, she's telling me, after 3 sessions, she's completely out of it. First time, she felt as if she didn't have it. She could travel, do multiple dance classes. This is what she tells me. This is a client of mine who used to suffer from migraine for years. Years she used to suffer. Right now, no pain at all after 4 sessions. She tells me she has been to several therapists before me, and this is the first time she's feeling. Again, what is this migraine pain? Why does it happen? Because somewhere she was getting a push to be in a direction that she didn't want to be. And she could understand it. Every disease which happens in our body, there's a metaphysical cause to it. Once you kind of, like it's like your body talking to you. Once you understand what it is trying to tell you, you are out of it. This is a young client of mine, 17 years old. He had Crohn's disease. Crohn's is a severe form of IBS. If not treated on time, it can lead to stomach cancer. He was already on steroids when he came to me. In just a couple of sessions, he was complete. 5 sessions he took from me and he was completely out of it. He tells me now his body is completely under control. He doesn't have to rush to toilet again and again. No loose motions, nothing. Well under control. And he's off steroids. This particular client of mine from US, she was highly gluten allergic. When I say highly gluten allergic, she would not even have the lentils, dals, because it seems dal has hing and hing has a portion of maida or wheat in it. She had been hospitalized twice or thrice because of having gluten in the past. So she's like, no, never for me. Yes, in this, when she worked with me, hers was an exceptional case because not everyone goes there. She went into a past life. Again, skeptics may raise their eyebrows right now. For me, it doesn't really matter. She's now out of it. She's having gluten. She's having her favorite food, samosas, puri, and she's having a good time with her family. And that's what she tells me. Yeah. So she's completely out of her gluten allergic after years. I want to say this is a story of a psoriasis. This is a phenomenal recovery rate in 1 session. This was my first multilingual client, like he was a Nepali. Hindi, English, both were difficult. So I used Google Translate to communicate with him. So I want to just show you his recovery. So he had psoriasis. Can you see this? Sorry. So psoriasis again is kind of, it's a skin issue, okay? He had been having it for the last 2 years, okay? And he had it exactly after his mom's death 2 years before he developed it. So he had a self-rejection. Somewhere in his mind, there was some issues with his mom he had, and he felt himself to be responsible for it. There was a rejection, self-rejection, completely out. You can see his shiny face. He had patches not only here, stomach and all as well. Okay. With that, I come to the end of my presentation. I'm practically in most of the social media everywhere. My website is healingwithshri.com and my WhatsApp and email ID is out there. I'm in there in the Google, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, you name it. Also, I wanted to ask you, like, if there's only one sentence you want to take from today's session, let it be, you are the creator of your own reality. So if you have that issue that you're facing today, and if you take charge, there's nothing in the world which can stop you from getting out of it. With that, I'm open to questions.
Thank you, Srimanti, for the wonderful speech. I will be your first client from this group very soon.
Wait, I just want to just open my, okay.
Okay, so there are a
Did
couple
I
of
stop
questions.
sharing? Yeah.
So first question is, how sustainable is the treatment?
So, okay. So when you say what does a sustainable mean? As I already showed to you, okay, my diabetes client, I just had a chat with her 2 days before. So I asked her, what are your, how are you doing? And she said, I'm fine. There's no diabetes. I said, did you go and check again? She's saying, I haven't gone to my second testing yet. I'll do it after 6 months or more, but I'm feeling fantastic. Coming to the thyroid client, I did talk to him and I asked, what about you? He said, no, my thyroid is under control. The mom said, tonsillitis, he said, I did have a feeling of itchy throat, but no medication. Tonsillitis, thyroid, throat chakra blocked. There are other issues as well. Personal, I cannot discuss, but he could find out. Yeah.
Okay. Second question is.
Sorry, Anand. Was it answerable? Like sustainable meaning was the long-lasting effect of it? As I already said to you, is forever. So my client who's having gluten right now, she's having no symptoms whatsoever. Like what she had before. She has been hospitalized thrice. So no issues at all. Yep.
Okay. Second question. Also, do you make the patient aware of the cause of disease so that the problem does not come back once you finish with your therapy?
No, you know the cause. That's why you're coming to me, right? I mean, like you're saying the root cause of it. Of course, you have to understand here. This is not my story which is unfolding. It is your story. You have to understand. So when you are in a therapy, in a trance-like state, you understand how this all happened. You go back to the cause of it. So as I said, you'll be very much there. Your mind, like your conscious mind is awake, but not in control. So you might remember certain parts of it. There might be a little bit of amnesia, but you remember what you're talking. Yeah. So yes, you remember all of it, most of it. When you go to the root cause of it, you come out of it. You have to relive it. You have to catharsize it to come out of it. Yeah.
Okay. Next question. Why most people prefer going to doctor if you can cure them? Why this science is not so popular if it is effective?
That's a very good question. And I think the answer would be the joke, like when you say like, I'm a hypnosis, I can do hypnotize you. I'm a hypnotherapy. Because of all the negative connotations, like in the movie, in the stage, you hypnotize someone and someone is making a funny noise, like becomes a pig or a dog. This is the way it has been connoted. Every science has a negative and a positive. People have been hypnotized and scammed, but we just choose to look at the negative part of it. Also, I'm not denying the fact that can everybody do it? Can everybody be effective? Not really. So I think that's the thing. How do you know who's correct? That is the way. So though, again, people are more comfortable going the more normal approach. As I said to you before, our mind rejects new ideas. Okay, though this is not a new science. Yeah.
Next question is, what will be the pricing in general for sessions?
The pricing for sessions is like, it's per session. As I said, like, again, how many sessions you need depends upon you. I recommend 5 to 6 sessions. But that's my recommendation. Like the thyroid client took only 2 and he was like, that's it, I'm good. The psoriasis client took only 1 and he was out of it. So, but per session, I charge up 500 dirhams as of now. But I know people who charge much, much more. But that's me as of now.
Okay. Next question is, some of the allergy are related to climate condition in UAE, fine, sand, etc. Whether this can be treated?
Yes. Yes. So can I say something really, because when I first heard it myself, it shook me. Common cold. Common cold, we say, you know what, weather change. we are coming under the weather, we are feeling that way. Common cold come main reason. What is the main reason? Is whenever you will say immunity is going down. Yes, that's correct. But it's mostly comes to you when you are somewhere, your self-esteem has been hurt, or you're feeling sorry for yourself. That's when your immunity goes down. Have you ever heard, Anand, like somebody is very happy and he's sick? Never, never. So when you are happy, it is impossible for you to fall sick. You get it? So when you're sad, your immunity goes down, and that's it. Free entry for the diseases.
Correct.
Yeah.
Is there any negative impact by this treatment? Any side effects?
So when you say the negative, I haven't seen any. But of so many clients that I've worked on, let's talk about my sister. So she had thyroid, and she would sometimes have rashes, especially when she was about to go to sleep. She would scratch herself. When she started with me, she told me the rashes has gone up, but that was for 2 days. I think homeopathy is also similar. It went up, but I said, don't give up. And right now she's nothing. Her skin is absolutely clear. So, does it mean a migraine client will come, the migraine will increase? So again, I don't know. Not everybody will react in the same way. But this can be one of the side effects. And another thing which I've seen is after the session, because there's a lot of catharsis happening. See, this is not a magic which is happening. You came with an issue, there's a reason for that which is happening to you. Even as simple as a pimple happening on your face, there's a reason. There's a body's communication to you. When you are able to interpret it and you go to the cause of it, sometimes it's not easy. I had a client from Australia. She said, you know what, I have a very bad relationship. I had some bad memories with my in-laws. Can you erase it? I won't be telling you anything. I said, hello, I'm not doing any magic here. You have to catharsize and let it go. You get it?
Yes. Yeah. Is it helpful for development problems with kids?
So when you say development problems, you have to specify, because there are several people. So I had clients like with ADHD, and that client was in US. It was very difficult for me because the child was 9 years. I couldn't hold his attention on the screen for long. So how does this happen? And the child is ADHD from probably birth. Some defects are congenital, okay, by birth. In those cases, I prefer to work on the mom. Okay. So I'm going little too much, but I'm just telling you, working with mom can help at times in those cases when the child is too small.
Okay. Person with a dialysis problem, is hypnosis beneficial to him?
Yes. I'll tell you why the kidney, but not today, maybe. Kidney issues, the major reason of kidney issues, if you want to hear. Do you want to?
Yeah. No, I don't have kidney problem, but.
No, not for you. I mean, because there were a lot of discussions before me. Kidney issues mainly happens when there's a lot of criticism, disappointment, failure. And that is all because of you. Again, you will say, you know what? I'm not consciously, you're not doing it. This is all happening subconsciously. Yeah.
So I asked this question because one of my fast friend, 95% kidney got damaged, and he's on a dialysis, and doctor has given a very limited lifespan. And I really want to help him, whichever way, means through transplantation or dialysis. So that's my personal question regarding how can we help him.
Yeah. So, I understand that you want to help him. This only works when the person wants to help himself. You get it? It's with permission. When I work on someone, I do work and I'm going to the root cause of it. But I also give not a lot, 2 minutes of your action items, which if you cannot spare, then there's no point coming to me and wasting my time and your time. I do give some action items to do, which is very basic, but you have to do it.
Thank you. And the last question, have you treated people with neurological disorder like Alzheimer's, etc.?
No, I haven't. So it was not there in my list. I have given only those which I have worked. And all these case stories, these testimonials are all there in my website. If you want to go and check, also it's in Facebook and everywhere. Some people allow tags, some people don't. So their non-disclosure agreement is very important, but some people are okay to share their journey and they're so happy about it. Yeah, so I do that.
Any other questions by anyone? So thank you, Srimanti, for the wonderful speech. I really appreciate it. Can I hand over to Rohit for the vote of thanks and for the Rohit?
Thank you, Anand. Thank you, Miss Srimanti ji, for the wonderful session and introducing us to the alternate way of treatment by therapy.
Yes.
And as a token of appreciation, we present this certificate to you. And thank you for accepting our invite and presenting to our members.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. What a pleasure listening to all these eminent speakers today on the health issues, which are very relevant to everyone, but we rarely give a thought about it. My name is Rohit Daima. I am treasurer at ICEI Abu Dhabi chapter. And on behalf of the chapter, it is my privilege to propose a formal vote of thanks for this event today. First of all, I would like to express our special gratitude to the guest of honor for today's event, Mr. Sandeep Kumar, Deputy Chief of Mission Embassy of India, Abu Dhabi, UAE, for graciously accepting our invite to address our members. And sir, you have highlighted how these two great countries are in cooperation in the healthcare sector to fight the pandemic. Thank you all the other speakers, Dr. Siddiq Anwar, for spreading the awareness about the kidney diseases and why it is common in the Indian experts, the various initiatives, taken by the UAE government to combat the disease. And the key takeaway was basically, investing in maintaining the healthy life is the biggest investment one can have. Next, Ms. Pallavi Kumar, thank you so much for educating us about the benefits of organ donation. And you rightly mentioned that organ wasted is a life lost. And I think it is an opportunity for everyone to come forward for the organ donation, and which can save many lives. Thank you, Ms. Pallavi. Next on the line, Mr. Atul Agnihotri, who was talking about the solution to the kidney transplants through paid kidney exchange. This can help the patient to find the compatible donor across the globe. Thank you for your information and explaining this solution about the kidney transplants. The next session was by Ms. Srimanti Gizare. Thank you for a very insightful session on hypnotherapy and explaining the scientific connection between soul, mind, and body in various diseases, and how hypnotherapy works and what are the benefits. Thank you all the speakers for your time and very informative and educating session about the life, live life and give life. Our special thanks to Ms. Uma Raman for helping us to connect and coordinate with all these eminent speakers. Thank you very much. Chapter gives away few gifts to or prizes to the most connected participants, and two winners for this event is CA Galib and CA Divya Sachdeva. Congratulations. Thanks to all the participants. Your gracious presence is essential for the success of any event, and keep attending all the events organized by the chapter. As our chairman mentioned in the beginning, we are looking forward to have a physical PDC event toward the end of this month. So we are so hopeful to see you in person after a long time. And till then, have a good life. Stay healthy. And good night. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Sri.
Thank you.
Thank you.